Maud, speak your truth.
I think writing to
Mm-hmm.
me is some sort of therapy.
Okay.
Writing is like venting, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of telling somebody, you're putting pen to paper
Exactly.
and then you're writing. And with venting to somebody, once you talk about whatever it is that's bothering you, you find yourself feeling better afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's the same feeling that comes with writing down whatever it is you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that is what Marvin said clearly. He was suffering from depression, and then he wrote down his feelings, and it helped him in a way. Because writing them down is like going to therapy and talking to somebody
Yeah.
about your feelings, just that they give you feedback.
Yeah.
So I believe sometimes the first step to feeling better about the things we're going through is to talking about them, which is equal to writing them down.
Definitely. Well, we're actually marking World Poetry Day, which is not today, but it's actually going to happen on the 21st of March. But we're not here on Sunday, so we're actually bringing it to you today. Now, one thing we know is poetry actually reaffirms our common humanity by revealing to us that individuals everywhere in the world share the same questions and feelings. Poetry basically is the mainstay of oral tradition and over centuries can communicate the innermost values of diverse cultures. I I cannot say I can underestimate poetry because I write myself. I have a couple of poems and actually have written a book before.
Oh, that's why I have to say you're weird.
Yeah, Hafiz actually thinks people who write, he thinks people who do poetry are weird.
Saying it.
You always deny the things you say.
I didn't say that on air. I don't know why you get
Okay, so you did say it.
I didn't say it.
You
Leave
did
it alone.
you did say it off air, not on air. Well, I actually do, and I love it. One thing though, like when Maud said venting, sometimes when you hide emotions within you, when you actually put the pen to the paper, as a writer, you tend to actually put your emotions in different ways. And one of the good things about it, you have the ability to actually hide the exact things you're saying, but you replace them with other words. You actually describe them and paint a picture that gives a vivid imagery to whoever is going to read it. Unless the only difference is they might not necessarily know that this particular thing is what you're bothered or this is what you're writing from. The beauty about poetry is the fact that people can interpret what you've written in their own way. People can listen to what you're saying and tell you, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that. And nobody's wrong. It's how everybody understands, how everybody reads, how everybody picks whatever it is that you have actually put out there. Now, one of the main objectives of World Poetry Day is to support linguistic diversity through poetic expression and to offer endangered languages the opportunity to be heard within their communities. Hafiz.
Oh, thank you very much. Maud talks about how when she wants to vent, she does that through writing. I think
I don't vent through writing.
Wait, that's what you said.
No, I said
it's therapeutic. Okay,
is
fine.
I
Okay.
I have
No,
somebody I can vent to.
Okay.
okay, so
With
But I like just like the audio we listened to, he talked about how he got through his depressive state
through
through
writing. Yeah.
writing. So
Okay.
I just said writing is tantamount to venting. I
okay,
vent.
okay, so okay, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
That's gonna fine. Can we go on? Okay, so anyway, but I think what you're looking for there is catharsis anyway. But that's besides the point. Uh, I think World Poetry Day, a day designed to promote and inspire the art form of poetry. But not long ago on the same platform, I think we're talking about uh, World Mother Language Day, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken,
Yeah.
how it promotes linguistic diversity, and I think poetry also, you know, promotes that agenda.
Promote. Yeah, it does.
Now, in my readings, I realized that I chanced on a lot of conversations surrounding this subject that kept on talking about how poetry is a dying art form, given the fact that we are in a fast-paced technological world that everything seems to be right on demand. even the messaging that we have, and so it seems to be affecting that. But something I quite don't agree with, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel that if anything, it's about appreciation. I think the art form isn't appreciated enough. I think that's the. And speaking of appreciation, now one area of poetry I think that doesn't get a mention enough is oral African poetry. Some say oral African vernacular poetry. And now, forgive me, I'm just postulating here, but I think largely it has to do with the fact that it doesn't conform to Western categorizations of what constitutes prose and poetry. And maybe I think that's just it. But there's no denying the fact that African poetry, vernacular ones that is, also tends to have its own unique artistic features. And speaking of artistic features, I think if you take praise poems, for instance, uh, now where I come from, there is this group of persons or drummers we call the Longse. Now, for a Lunga, when they see you, and even the tribal mark on your face tells them which gate you come from, and what they usually do is they start, playing the drums and then singing and start mentioning your great grandfathers and what they did, if they fought battles and everything. So sometimes you are not paying attention to them, but when they start, you can't help but admire the arts and the rich history they tend to provide you. Something you don't even know about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
some
true.
will just take one single look at you and they can tell the gate you are coming from. And when you are feeling good about it, and then you tip them, you give them something out of it. Okay, it's an art form. It's poetry. It's some. These are things. These are poetry forms we see around us, but a lot of time we don't appreciate them because I don't know. Maybe just maybe because it's in the local dialects. But it is something that the older generation have had to, enjoy. And for one reason or the other, it seems we are more, because it's not in a formalized setting, if I want to put it that way. But I mean, in our celebrations, every now and then we see it. The houses have occasions where they sing praises of the holy prophets because of how they are linked to the Islamic religion.
Mm-hmm.
Even among the Yorubas, when they go hunting, they have praise songs. Yes, and poems that they recite depending on how well you did on the expedition. If you ended up capturing an outstanding game, you get these hunting poems are recited in they are more like verbal salutes, just to sing how well you did, and it's actually called ijala in the Yoruba language. So these are forms that have been around us, but I just think we haven't appreciated them enough. Anyway,
I think it falls under the one we mentioned about the endangered languages. Poetry is not limited to the English language. Though people are
no,
using the
I get it.
English language as
It's
a
just not just
medium.
the language, but I believe the fact that it's is in our local dialect. A lot of the time, it's not projected enough. Now, even in
Yes.
the English languages, most people hardly pay attention. I mean, Exhibit A, myself. So, I mean, that's because we have our own reasons,
Exhibit
but
A finds it weird.
so we have our reasons anyway. But that's just it. I just think the oral vernacular, poetry form of it is
Mm-hmm.
something that we don't actually appreciate enough. And but then it's something that is just around us. We just don't see it enough anyway.
Well, that is great. I think if you look at Africa, we do have quite the number of great poets.
Absolutely,
We have
absolutely.
amazing, amazing, amazing poets. And Maud,
Yeah,
have you listened to anything by Wole Soyinka?
I think I've read something by Wole Soyinka. No, Wole Soyinka. Between Wole Soyinka and Chino Achebe, which one is still alive?
Wole.
Wole is still alive. He has a lot of white hair. Yes,
Yes.
I have listened to something from him, and and I think one time I was looking for something for Amaka. You know how Amaka is always troubling. Mommy, I want a poem for South Africa. Mommy, I want a poem. So one of those days, I think a poet, either a poet or an author, was coming on at Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and then she was telling me she needs like a reading. She didn't want a poem. She needs like an author who's written a part of some parts in his book. And then I found a video of Wole Soyinka reading just a little part of his book, and my oh my, his voice, the way he read, and it was just pleasant to the ears. And like you said, we've had some great poets. We still have some great poets in the land. I mean, off the top of my head, I can talk about Late Wusunu. I know Kofi Awuno. I know Amataidu. I know Ifwa Sutherland. Not to talk of the great Maya Angelou. I know Nikki Giovanni. A lot, a whole list of black women, black men who have. I know Langston Hughes. Why is she smiling?
Nothing. I don't like state use.
Yeah. So I know Toni Morrison. There's a lot of people who actually penned their feelings, who penned their feelings to paper, and those feelings are feelings that we still talk about till today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since we're actually still looking at the month where we actually look at women, I'm just going to mention a few. I mean, some of the female contemporary African poets that we have, and these are all actually from Africa. So we have Wasan Shai. We have she's a Kenyan-born Somali poet. She's actually based in London, and Beyonce's Lemonade album. Yes, she actually did a work on it. She was adapted. One of her works was adapted into it, and she explores topics based on gender, war, sex, and cultural assumptions. Now we have Naira Wahid. She happens to be one of my favorites. She's best known for her poetry books titled Salt and Nejma. Now she fell in love with poetry at the age of 11. We have Liu Lebisekal. Yeah, yeah, Liu Lebisekal. I just hope I got that name right. She's an Ethiopian poet, and she spent a number of years there working on her chapbook, Bearing Heavy Things. Now we have Lebo Mashile, and she's a South African poet. We have Koleka Putuma. She's a Cape Town based performance poet, and she actually facilitates and hosts writing and dialogue workshops at schools' community projects. We have Ijoma Omebinyu. We have Ijoma is a Nigerian poet, and she's making debut with her collection of prose poems and poems titled Questions for Ada. Now we have Keti Niviabandi, and she's a poet and a writer from Bujumbura, Burundi. Now, she's popularly known for her significant role in the political activism against the country's president. And we have Harriet Anena. She's a Ugandan poet, a journalist, and an author. We have Safia El Hilo. She's a Sudanese poet. And we have Yasa Dalewad, another one of my favorites. She's a writer and a poet who was born in Jamaica. She has a Jamaican mother and a Nigerian father, but she grew up in the UK. And we have Lebo Machego, a South African journalist who also writes sometimes. Now, these are key people. These are women who have put their works into words, who have actually put things out there, who has had the world's attention on them because of the words, the way they actually string words together, the way they're able to bring the beauty, the way they're able to paint a picture, an idea. One thing I love about poetry is the fact that they use it, these women use it to address different issues that have become a problem, issues that need attention. Through their poems, through their works, they actually get attention on it and something is done about it.
Okay, so by the looks of it, if I leave you to here, you would you have a poetry off anyway. So, but there's this question I have.
You do realize you're still
It
reciting a poem, right?
it goes for you guys anyway. So you guys, no, it's just a question. Because I'm trying to understand this. Like, why is it that in these parts,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you organize a poetry show,
Mm-hmm.
you don't exactly get the same numbers as when you organize, say, a music concert. And I'm trying to understand the reason. Are, are we? Is it because poetry is projected as something that is an exclusive club? Is it because it's like it's for some groups
Select
of
few.
persons that are supposed to have a certain level of IQ? What is it? Is it seen more of an academic exercise than something to enjoy? What is the problem with numbers and getting people to trunk places, using poetry as, your point of your sales pitch anyway.
How easy is it gonna be to get you or to convince you to be
No, I'm trying to
entering? No, I'm
understand. So
asking. I'm also asking you. How
why?
easy is it to
You're not answering
convince
my
you
question.
to
You're
like
asking me a
poetry?
question.
Okay, then let me use a question to answer your question.
No,
Why do you not like poetry?
I'm asking you a question. Epi, are
No,
you
because
helping me or not?
you are part of the people who actually do not make
I'm
it
not on
work.
trial here. I'm asking a question.
You are on
For,
trial.
am I on trial?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Good. So, okay.
I
No,
Lord,
would
Maud, if
say
you
Maud, Maud would do a
Maud,
better
if you
job. Wait.
organized a poetry session,
Then allow Maud to
Hafiz
answer my
is not
question.
going to attend.
No.
So ask him why he wouldn't. If I gave you 2 tickets, one to a music concert and one to a poetry recital, which one would you
Maud,
choose?
please answer my
please
question.
answer her question.
I didn't get your question.
If
That's
I
fine.
gave you 2 tickets, one to a music
Hafiz,
concert and one to a
would
poetry
you
recital, which
attend a
one would you
poetry
take?
What is this?
recital?
I'm
No, wait. Would
Oh
you
my goodness.
would you attend a poetry recital?
What is this?
Or would you attend
Would
a
you
music
attend a
concert?
poetry
Wait.
recital?
Let's settle this. Let's settle this. I asked the question. I need clarification.
And
Once that is done,
yes,
wait,
your
wait,
clarification
wait,
is what
wait.
we're actually
Okay.
giving you.
Okay, I think I would like to answer.
Yeah.
I mean, poetry is an art, and different types of people appreciate different types of art. So if there's a poetry session, I think it is people who appreciate the art of poetry that will attend the poetry recital. And poets and the people who are much versed into poetry move in a different circle. I don't know. It's like they talk. Sometimes you see a group of poets, they talk different, they act different.
Weird.
So now I'm trying to
That's weird.
understand.
Hafiz.
so then I'm trying to understand why you said
No, but
poets are weird.
you,
They're not weird like I think in general.
No,
like
you're still not
100%.
answering my question.
No, she has
I
answered your
have.
question. She
People-
said people who
it's
value
because-
it.
Why
are
do they
those
talk different? Why do they do things
don't
differently?
know.
Hafiz, it has to do with a form of thinking. You understand?
Okay, so
I could
so
be
what
walking
what
and I could
explains
see
the
a
few
situation.
numbers, the numbers that usually we get for these
Well, how
kinds
many
of shows?
people
It's
have
the interest,
Because
yes.
even you
So
talking,
why-
you don't have interest in it.
That's
So
the thing.
why
So why
don't you have interest in it?
I'm not the one on trial. I'm asking you.
No, we
guys.
are answering you
are
by
the
asking you
poetry
because
heads.
you're evading it. And I'm sure if you face it, you find the reason. The same way you answer yourself, those who do not attend will
This is
also
not
have
a
the
therapy
same
session.
issue.
I'm not here to discuss
It's
my
not a
feelings.
therapy question.
Oh, you don't even have feelings, bro.
Wow.
Maud, really?
Okay.
No, but seriously, why do you not? Why
No,
don't you have interest in poetry?
Look. I just feel that it's a feeling, but I just think that if it's projected less of something like an academic exercise and projected like something to enjoy, is one of those things you can have. And besides, this whole idea of pushing it as something of an exclusive club.
No,
You know-
Okay, you finish.
You're asking me. I'm giving
Yeah,
you
you finish.
that because sometimes these things or these programs have a way of making you feel like a dum dum. You go there and you're listening to them and you don't even understand what exactly is going on. You're lost. So I don't know. That's why I'm trying. I'm trying
Okay,
to get
so-
the understanding
so,
why that is. That's
So
why I'm asking
that
some of these
is,
questions.
I think, when you move to a poetry recital, first off, don't try to understand things on
Okay,
the
so
logical
okay,
basis.
let me put it
It's
this way.
supposed to be imaginative.
Epi, hold on. Okay, so for someone that isn't so much into poetry,
Mm-hmm.
what are the tips you would give to such a person, to someone that is open to exploring, enjoying something? What should they do or not do? What's the etiquette basically?
Well, I think when
to
you go
enjoying
for
a poetry,
a recital, when you go for a poetry recital, don't go with the logical sense. You're thinking everything should be A is A, B is B. Now, poetry deals mainly with imagination. People here play with words to explain something else. The key thing is you not trying to understand precisely what the poet or the writer is trying to say. Because if you want to understand his main, maybe I'm trying to talk about a car. No, I'm saying something. Maybe I'm trying to talk about a car, but I don't want to tell you it's a car. So I use words to actually describe everything that a car does. Now it's like a puzzle I've painted. It's just for you to know that it's a car. But if you, per the words I've used, see it as a bicycle, I can't dispute that.
Maud?
Poetry deals with imagination.
Maud is
Poetry
getting
is
me more
not
confused.
static.
Epi is getting me more confused.
Hafiz, I think
And if
you
you don't
I-
like, if you don't
I
like
think you and I talked
reading-
about this earlier. there are poems that a layman can understand.
Okay.
And then there are poems that have deeper meanings, which you actually have to pay attention to.
Okay, so wait, you mean I should know where I belong and not
I'm
go?
not saying you should know where you belong.
Yes.
So let's say you listen to a poem, right? Or you listen to a poetry recital from a poet, and you don't understand it. The least you can do is to walk up to the
And ask
person
them.
and ask them.
Really?
Or
How
if
many
you didn't
times do
listen,
Or
people get
talk
access
or
to Wole
talk to the
Soyinka
people.
fine.
all these
Or
guys?
talk to the
fine.
people.
So talk to anybody. You can approach people. I mean,
Yes,
ask
and
the
they would
person. I listened
explain
to
to
this
you.
poem. I didn't really get it. I would want you to listen to it and
What's
see
your
if you would
take? Yeah,
understand.
on the poem.
You're
And
not
one
a
of
poem
the
person. That's why you're having so many questions.
and you need to love to read. You need to
So
love
is
reading
your
or playing with
it's
words.
up to you guys to actually bring me into the fold rather than
Yeah.
No, because when
you're
you
not want to be
rather than
convinced.
no,
get exasperated by my
he
ignorance.
literally no, this is not ignorance. He literally
all it
has
is. This
shut
is not
his mind out.
ignorance.
Okay.
This
You
is
have
you
shut-
not liking poems.
you have
and
shut
it's fine.
your mind
Nobody
out.
say have his like poems.
Look, I haven't said that. I'm open to
Do you
understanding.
have a poem that's your
enjoying
favorite
it.
poem? Is there any poem that
For
you've heard?
somebody who doesn't like poems,
I
I
shouldn't
don't
even
think
bother
so.
asking that question. But what's your favorite poem?
Uh,
Yeah, you said you read the
I
Heart's
wrote
Breath.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
wrote. What
don't,
is
I
it?
don't, I don't have it, but I'll
Okay.
try to remember it off the top of my head. I think
Please
what
do.
I wrote was, "My eyes want to see."
AB got you
Wow,
big time.
Abraham,
He got you
wow.
big time.
I think I think that it went like this. My
Mhm.
eyes want to see you.
Wait, is that the one you got?
Yes, she said that was the
Yeah,
heart.
That
I
they
got
broke
my
your
heart.
heart.
No,
Oh, okay.
they didn't break my heart.
What?
Who
The
broke it?
relationship ended. It was a mutual ending.
You
Okay,
got
just-
dumped. Okay. I get it.
Yes, I did not get dumped. We talked about it and then we ended.
Are
it.
you
It
really
was-
trying to explain yourself to her?
Yes, it was an amicable ending.
Yes, you got dumped. Let's go.
So I think it went like this. My eyes want to see you. My hands want to touch you.
Mhm.
Will you guys please let me?
We are
Go on, go
allowing
on.
So
you.
right now, I mean the spirit.
You're in the mood.
So my eyes want to see you.
Should we put
my
off the lights?
No. My eyes want to see you. My I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I think.
Okay,
Okay.
continue.
My eyes want to see you.
Mhm.
My hands want to touch you.
Mhm.
My mind hates. Wait, my heart hates you,
Mhm.
and my mind can't stop thinking about you.
Mm.
Then I think, and then I wrote, it's funny how different parts of the body feel different things when it's all said and done. And the title of that little thing was 365 Days Without You.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh,
I mean,
you just get it.
Why did I stop writing? Guys, clap for me.
Why?
Okay, so
Creativity at its peak.
Because you're
I
having
think
an
she said
emotional meltdown.
she. So you had mentioned what each be talking about a poem. Are you equally? I also have written heartbroken poems, different poems actually,
Unbelievable.
but I think this one
Wow.
because we're in the month of women.
Unbelievable.
This is something that I wrote in the year 2017, and yeah, it's dedicated to women. Now, I titled it "Angels
No. We want the heartbreak one.
in Mortal Frames."
Happy. We want the heartbreak
I
one.
gave you this book to read. You didn't read. You are telling me you want the heartbreak one. When I finish, I'll open them for you to read. It's not one; they're a lot actually. So.
Hey.
I mean, no, when I say hard, like they're sad. The
Why
themes
you
are
explain
sad.
it?
Oh, but I mean,
Let me
yeah,
just-
read yours and then I'll
Let me
read
read it.
another
Okay.
two.
So, let's sing of the beauties past,
Wow.
their glories and victories gone. They live on, though the world forgets them. Their names might never hit the headlines again, but history cannot be written without it. I celebrate them not because they were once popular. I celebrate them for being courageous at the time they were, for being true and not giving up. Their efforts did not make a volcano erupt. It made way for a younger generation to blossom, for us to dream freely, for us to believe as we live, to take steps with boldness on paths that have not been charted yet. Trusting in the love we give, they taught us not to trust in velvety darkness. Smiles you would see when the sun is out, but the frowns would always be behind you. They embrace our troubles away, and our fears disappear at the sight of them. They ensure we never ran out of love. With hugs and kisses, they stood by us through all
Ooh.
that came our way. They
Ooh.
taught us not to wait for the happily ever after, but to build it. Each day with true love that cares not for itself but others. And when we finally made it, they stood with pride and joy, giving us the respect they deserved, only to say, now it is your time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so there's this other poem that was written when the whole pandemic started.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by Kitty O'Meara, and this how it goes. And the people stayed. It's titled "And the People Stayed Home."
Okay.
So, and the people stayed home,
Mm-hmm.
and they listened,
Mm-hmm.
and read books, and rested, and exercised, and made art,
Mm-hmm.
and played games, and learned new ways of being, and were still. And they listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced. Some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, and heartless ways,
Mm-hmm.
the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed.
Oh.
I think this sums up the pandemic perfectly.
Yeah, it
Because
does.
when lots of countries were going on lockdown, we had
Mm-hmm.
news of lions coming out into the streets, and and we saw so many things, like
Yeah.
things, examples of the world of the earth healing itself.
Yeah.
So this is also one of the poems I like, taking into consideration the state the world is in right now. And there's this one that we have on the website. It's titled Rapunzel, Rapunzel.
No, don't worry. I know why I'm smiling.
Oh,
The
Te-
name Rapunzel has something, so.
could you tell us why you're smiling, please?
No, I once there's someone who used to call me Rapunzel. That's why I'm smiling.
Well,
I don't get
okay.
the reference. That's why.
Oh no,
So,
it didn't have to do
Hey.
with the hair. It had to do with the attitude.
okay, so it's obvious.
We know
Do you-
you're actually in
do
a
you
hurry
know
to
a
just
poem?
get up and go because it is World Poetry Day. Hafiz, will you do a poem?
Poem.
Yeah.
Look at him because they said it. The cameraman is up. No, I don't have
Since you
one
want a
because
heartbreaking
I
poem,
was what? What has it done?
he when he had heart is my heart in
Okay.
roses.
There's one you've written here. I don't know. I'm seeing a line
It
I'm not
starts.
comfortable reciting.
Yeah,
It
Hafiz
starts on the
has
other.
feelings.
It started
Please
on the
don't
other
let
side of the
Hafiz read
page.
a poem that talks about feelings.
In fact,
Let's just do Rapunzel, Rapunzel for the last.
she's writing about if men realize something. Okay, but let's.
Well, so this is a poem that is actually on our website.
Uh-huh.
It was written by Elaine Ogbeta.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all know the story of Rapunzel. It talks
Mhm.
about how she let down her hair for the prince to climb. But this is a different context. It talks about, it uses the different types of hairstyles the black women usually do.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes like this: Rapunzel, Rapunzel, my beauty so rare. Please will you let down your fine relaxed hair? Then she comes to say, oh no, dear prince, I can't, I'm afraid. For today, I'm having my hair done in braids. Then, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, my beautiful maiden, can you please let down some of your braids? Then she's like, oh no, dear prince, but would you believe? On my dark head, I'm having a weave. Then he goes, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, I'll never leave. Please, will you let down your wonderful weave? And she's like, oh no, dear prince. Oh, please don't squirm, 'cause today I've decided to have me a perm. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, my love, I affirm. Can you please let down your ravishing perm? Then she says, oh no, dear prince. I could slap my wrist. Did I not mention that I'm having a twist?
That's a lot of. That's actually a lot of hairstyles, and I
Then-
think it would be awesome if they go to the website
Yeah.
and read it completely.
But the last part, let me read. The last part says, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, am I not your beau? Could you please let down your soft afro? Then she goes, alas, dear prince, but we cannot be wed. The truth is my love. There's no hair on my head.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us on that discussion zone of the Africa Daily Show.